Hey YouTube, welcome to Slunkerns Lab. Today I have two standard OU matches on Pokemon Showdown, and obviously, like I said, I'm going to have two battles in this video. Basically going to be a double header. I'm going to narrate the first battle, then I'm going to narrate the second battle. But before I actually get into that narration stuff, I just want to say a few things. First of all, lately, my upload schedule has been absolutely sporadic. There's been no rhyme or reason to it. I've just been completely all over the place, and I just want to apologize for that. If anybody actually follows my videos, you will realize that I have like random weeks where I just don't upload, and then I'll just upload randomly 3 videos at once, and it's like, what the hell is that? And I don't like it. I don't like doing that. I don't like it at all. I really just don't like it. I don't like having that kind of upload schedule. I don't like running my channel like that, so I just want to apologize for that, and hopefully I can try to work on that, make things a little bit more scheduled and whatnot. So yeah, there's that. And second of all, I know I've been uploading a lot of UU. Now, I was looking through my channel videos and I was just like, wow, I mean, I literally upload UU like every other battle, sometimes more than that, and I don't like uploading the same tier all the time. So, and I know that it gets boring watching the same teams because I only have so many teams to play with on UU. So I just basically want to apologize for that as well, because I'm sure that it gets boring watching the same team every single battle. So, well, not every single battle, but pretty consistently. So I just want to apologize for that as well. So, sorry for both of those things with my upload schedule and my obsession with UU. I just really like UU, and I find that I'm best at it. I find I'm best at UU, but I've been trying really hard lately to get some good OU battles to upload, and even some other tiers. Possibly my next video will probably be a Little Cup video, because that's my next video that I have planned to upload. So yeah, I mean, that's a little bit more interesting stuff, I think, in my opinion anyway. More interesting than watching UU all over again. But anyway, I'm done rambling about that stuff. As you can see, I have my rain team that I have used somewhat recently on this channel, and a lot of things have changed since the last time you've seen it. First of all, I traded out Scarf Jirachi for Scarf Keldeo. For one, it's a rain team. I may as well use Keldeo. Those Hydro Pumps are extremely powerful. Okay, I traded out Fortress for Ferrothorn because, for one, I really don't care about Stealth Rocks. I never get a chance to spin anyway. I don't like spinning. I feel like it's a waste of a turn, and obviously that's up for debate. I mean, you can spin. I don't have anything against it, but I personally just don't like wasting the turn on a rapid spin. So, I decided to switch out my Fortress for my Ferrothorn, and the reason why I chose Ferrothorn over Fortress is because Ferrothorn seems to have a lot easier time surviving. And the reason is because it has a lot more resistances. Specifically, it has resistances to water and electric. And looking at my team, the only other thing I have to resist water is my Politoed and my Gyarados. Gyarados does not want to take Scalds because he doesn't want to get burned, and Politoed is physically defensive, not specially defensive, so he cannot take on things like Rotom. So, with all that said, I basically just replaced my Fortress with my Ferrothorn. I replaced my Keldeo, I replaced my Terrakion with my Keldeo, and obviously the big change, which is why I'm making this doubleheader, is Tornadus. I previously had a Choice Specs Tornadus-T in my Tornadus slot. Now, obviously with Tornadus-T being banned, I needed to replace that, and honestly the only thing I could think of to replace it with is Tornadus. And I was thinking, well, I may as well test to see if I can run the same exact set on Tornadus, and thus far, it has worked beautifully, and you'll see why. I mean, Tornadus is so underrated. It has higher special attack, and it still has 111 base speed. 111 base speed outspeeds everything. Literally, there is not anything that outspeeds Tornadus, unless it's Scarfed or boosted speed, of course, but I mean, basically Tornadus outspeeds everything. The one thing that I hugely miss is Regenerator, and obviously everybody who used Tornadus-T beforehand is going to miss Regenerator a lot. It was a great ability, but in my opinion, Tornadus completely takes over that place in my team and does a very good job of just striking fear into the hearts of my opponent. And you'll see in these two battles just how powerful and quick, and I mean, just everything that you would want in a Choice Specs user, Tornadus has. And I feel like it was so underrated before, and once Tornadus-T came around, it just became useless, and in my opinion, it shouldn't be useless. It's a very good Pokemon, and I think you might agree with me after these battles, maybe not, but anyway, I have been rambling for 5 minutes straight, so I'm going to shut my mouth. Well, actually, I'm going to keep talking, but I'm going to stop talking about random shit, and I'm actually going to commentate this battle. So, looking at my opponent's team, he does not have any weather. So, I'm just going to lead straight off with my Politoed, because I don't care what he leads with. I don't care if he gets up Stealth Rocks. I don't care what he does. I need my Rain up so that the rest of my team can function at the best possible level. So, that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to lead straight off with my Politoed, and he ends up leading with his Starmie. Now, I don't understand people's mindset staying in with a physically defensive Starmie on a Politoed, because number one, if I'm anything but a physically defensive set, you're going to get 2-hit KO'd every single time. And even as a physically defensive set, you can see that does 52%. That's a lot of damage. But anyway, he stays in, he goes for his Stealth Rocks, and then the switch to his Gastrodon, predicting this Scald, is so obvious, so I just go for the Toxic, and it's extremely helpful because that Toxic is going to help me wear down that Gastrodon later on. However, because the Gastrodon is most likely going to go for either a Scald or an Earth Power, both of those things my Ferrothorn can take very easily, I just decide to hop right into my Ferrothorn, and he ends up going for a double switch into his Rotom Wash, probably predicting my switch into my Gyarados, because Gyarados can pretty much wall Gastrodon just as well as Ferrothorn can. So, anyway, he brings in his Breloom because he can't touch my Ferrothorn, and then he ends up going for an SD as I switch my Politoed. But the thing is I don't need my Politoed, and I still have my Tornadus in the back here. So I basically just can fodder out my Politoed, bring in my Tornadus, and I know I can take a +2 Mach Punch even after Stealth Rock damage, so I just decided to go straight for the Hurricane. And he brings in his Gastrodon, and he's thinking in his head, oh yeah, my Gastrodon's specially defensive, I can take this. Nope. Even without hazards or that poison, he still would barely live 2 Hurricanes. And I'm talking about, like, min-max being, like, an important factor. Anyway, I'm able to kill him off with 2 Hurricanes, and at this point he has no specially defensive wall, which means that I can bring in my Tornadus at any point and do huge damage to anything. However, at this point I have to switch out, because if he brings in his Mammoth and goes for the Ice Shard, I know that I can't touch him. But let's pause the battle for a minute, because an important thing just happened. He just went for the Ice Shard, which everybody knows that every Mamoswine in the world runs Ice Shard. So, at this point, I know for a fact that this Mamoswine has Ice Shard. And that's going to be important later on in the battle, so I just want to, get that out there. Mamoswine has Ice Shard. Period. End of story. He has it. He used it. I know for a fact. Okay? Later on in the battle, I'll explain why I'm bothering explaining this, but just keep that in your mind. He actually does have Ice Shard. So, anyway, getting back into the battle. Now, I go for the Leech Seed, expecting him to go for probably an Earthquake, but I know I can live 1. And then, judging by how much I'm getting back from the Leech Seed, I know that I can live any hit after going for a Protect. But I end up getting paralyzed. He ends up going for the Superpower. He should have went for EQ, but I don't know what his mindset was there. But whatever, it doesn't matter. But I am able to bring in my Gyarados, because after minus attack and defense, I know for a fact that I can just set up a sub. He won't be able to break my sub with a Superpower, or possibly not even with an Icicle Crash. So I just decided to go straight for my substitute, and he brings in his Rotom Wash. Now, I make what could have been a misplay here, because I thought I could outspeed a Scarfed Rotom Wash after a Dragon Dance. However, I can only outspeed modest Scarfed Rotom Washes after a Dragon Dance. So he obviously was modest. If he was timid, he would have just killed me off, and that would have been a waste of time. But whatever. Anyway, he goes for the T-Bolt, takes me out, and because I'm pretty sure I don't see leftovers, I don't see any type of item, so I'm pretty sure that he's Scarfed. I am able to just go for the Icicle Crash and take him out. Now, here's his biggest misplay of the game. He brings in his Salamence, and I'm able to just take it straight out with an Ice Shard. And that's basically just like signing the death sentence, because without that Salamence, he no longer has a big threat that can sweep my team. Now, he does bring his Breloom, go for the Mach Punch. He outspeeds me because he's probably Jolly, and my Mamoswine is Adamant. But that does give me the opportunity to bring in my Tornadus for free, because he cannot take me out with a Mach Punch at this point. I'm pretty sure Mach Punch does about 30% to Tornadus. But then he brings in Mamoswine, and as you can see, he does not go for the Ice Shard. Now, like I said earlier, he used Ice Shard. I know for a fact he has Ice Shard. However, there's a few important factors that are going into this scenario. Number one, If I were to switch out my Tornadus, I would have lost. Sorry, my iPod just decided to make random noises. If I were to have switched out my Tornadus, I would have lost. Period. End of story. That would have been the end of that, because I could not have lived a Mach Punch from Breloom on the switch-in after getting hit by Stealth Rock. So, if I switched out my Tornadus, I lost. Okay? He probably predicted me to switch out my Tornadus into my Keldeo and went for the Earthquake. Now, if I had wanted to switch, that would have been a good play. However, like I said, there was absolutely no reason for me to switch, because once I switched, I lost. Because I would have taken too much damage on my Keldeo, and I couldn't have brought in my Tornadus later. So he predicts the switch, probably goes for the EQ, I'm guessing. Can't be sure, but I'm assuming that's what was going on in his head. And because of that, he ends up losing his Mamoswine, and once again, like I said, I can easily take a Mach Punch from Breloom all day, every day, and, you know, like I said, 35%, probably max damage. 35, probably like 27 to 35% is what I'll take from Mach Punch, and I'm able to take him out with a Hurricane, and that's pretty much that. My Tornadus pretty much cleaned up the match, which is pretty much what it does nowadays. Like, I can't be switching it in and out all the time because it doesn't have Regenerator, but that stab 125 base special attack Hurricane, powered up by Choice Specs, is just so powerful, and with the 111 base speed, I basically outspeed everything. Like I said, the only thing on his team that probably would have been able to outspeed me is that Salamence, which I'm assuming was Scarfed. So, yeah, everything else on this team is outsped, and the only thing that could actually kill me was Mamoswine with Ice Shard, and he decided not to go for Ice Shard. So, yeah, my Tornadus basically just destroyed that match. I mean, let's think about this. My Tornadus took out his Breloom, my Tornadus took out his Mamoswine, my Tornadus took out his Skarmory, and it took out his Gastrodon. So it took out both of his walls, and it took out both of his most fearing, like, the attackers that I most feared on this team. Because, obviously, like I said, I can't take Ice Shards from Mamoswine on this thing, and Politoed, Gyarados, Ferrothorn. I mean, basically half my team is destroyed by Breloom, so, yeah. Tornadus took out half the enemy's team, well, 4/6 of the enemy's team, so, yeah, I mean, he's doing alright so far, according to me. So anyway, on to the second battle. Now, as you can see from my opponent's team, he has a Sandstorm team, and anytime that I see a Sandstorm team, I just get annoyed, because Sandstorm is one of the worst weathers for me to deal with, and the reason for that is because my main attackers are Gyarados and Tornadus. I have the other two attackers in there, but the main ones that I like to sweep with anyway are Tornadus and Gyarados. Gyarados cannot be taking Sandstorm damage because I run a substitute set. Every time I substitute, I'm losing 25% health. Every time Sandstorm hits me, I'm losing 6% health. That damage racks up really quick. And then obviously with Tornadus, I'm switching in on Stealth Rocks almost every game because I don't have a spinner. So I'm losing 25% health on switching. And then I'm losing 6% health every turn from Sandstorm. So, with all these things in mind, Sandstorm is a pain in the ass for my team to deal with. However, looking at his team, it's very, very obvious that he's not going to want to lead with his Tyranitar. And the reason for that is because my Gyarados, and my Ferrothorn, and my Keldeo, and my Mamoswine all directly threaten his, can't think of the word I'm looking for here, his Tyranitar, to the point where they could probably all OKO him. So, the point that I'm trying to get here is that he's not going to lead with that. He's probably going to lead with his Terrakion, because Terrakion, well, I was actually predicting him to lead with either his Terrakion or his Landorus, because his Landorus can U-turn, his Terrakion can just hit something with a Stone Edge or close combat. So, that's actually what I predicted. He does end up leading with his Terrakion, which just basically shows that he has no clue what he's doing, because lead Terrakion is so bad if it's not Stealth Rock. He does end up going for the close combat, and I'm able to just take out the Scald. And like I said, it just shows that he had no clue what he was doing, because he should never have stayed in on a Politoed. Anyway, he brings in his Arcanine, and I'm assuming that he's going to go for the Wild Charge, but I'm not sure if he has it just yet. So I end up going for the Protect. He goes for the close combat, predicting my Mamoswine, so I assume that I'm safe to stay in. However, he ends up having the Wild Charge, and I live it with 8%. And then I'm able to go for the Scald and take out his, words aren't coming to my brain, his Arcanine. So at this point, my Politoed has already taken out 2 of his Pokemon, and, you know, I have the Rain up. So basically, I'm in a good position here. But the thing is, he brings in his Breloom, I cannot let my Politoed die, because I need it to set up the Rain later on. So, I end up bringing in my Ferrothorn as basically death fodder, and also to set up the rocks. I am able to live 2 Mach Punches and then get up my Stealth Rocks on the next turn, and then bring in my Tornadus. And the thing is he doesn't have anything to take Hurricanes except for his Tyranitar, and because the switch with Tyranitar is so obvious, I just go for the U-turn, get off some nice damage, and then I can switch out into my Mamoswine. Now, I was predicting him to want to switch to his Landorus, but the thing is he decides to just stay in and get flinched. So basically, he's dead no matter what he does. So he's forced to switch out. He ended up switching into his Fortress. I went for the Ice Shard just because Ice Shard hits the rest of his team other than the Fortress super effectively. So I figured, and I didn't want to risk the miss, so I figured that it was the safest place for me to go for. So he brings in his Fortress. He takes that Ice Shard easily. I know I can't OKO or 2KO with Earthquake, so I just decided to switch out into my Keldeo. Now, Keldeo can basically OKO the rest of his team outside of his Breloom. And obviously, he thought that his Fortress was going to be a lot more bulky than it is, because Fortress is taken clean out by a Hydro Pump, even in the sand. So Keldeo just basically took out 2 of the opponent's team, and Breloom comes in. At this point, I don't need my Politoed anymore. All I need it for is to set up the Rain and be done with it. So once I set up the Rain, I can bring in my Tornadus and just basically clean up the rest of his team. Once again, as I've said in the past battles, I know I can live a Mach Punch. I can take 4 of those Mach Punches easily. Well, 3 of them, but whatever. And then he brings in his Landorus. Now, Landorus is actually 101 base speed. Tornadus is 111. And so therefore, the only way that Landorus could outspeed a Tornadus is if it was Scarfed. However, seeing the damage that he did earlier on my Politoed with his Terrakion, I was pretty sure that his Terrakion was Scarfed, not his Landorus. So I was able to just stay in and go for the Hurricane and take him out. So yeah, there are the battles that I had for you guys today. Obviously this video is pretty long. It's almost a 20-minute video. It's going to be a 20-minute video by the time I'm done rambling. I can pretty much guarantee that, because I just don't shut up. But you know, it's a pretty long battle. If you watched up to this point, you know, great. That's awesome. I appreciate the support. But looking at, you know, the ban of Tornadus-T, that's basically the reason why I made this video. That's why I put these 2 battles, these 2 easy battles, into a video. I shouldn't say easy, but they just ended up being battles that I didn't really have to think much about, and I ended up just, you know, cleaning up with Tornadus at the end anyway, which is basically the point of Tornadus on this team, to either wall break or clean up late game. So because all of those things went well, usually I don't upload battles where things just go my way all the time. I like to have battles that are a little bit more difficult, battles that are closer, but it's kind of hard to find good battles like that. So I figured that 2 mediocre battles would be better than nothing at all. And it would also open up the discussion for the Tornadus-T ban, which, in my opinion, and this is, like I said, this is my opinion, I don't think Tornadus-T was broken. However, it was definitely really powerful, and I can see why people would want it gone. I can definitely see why people would want it gone. The issue really with Tornadus-T was that you could not kill it. Like, the thing lives forever because of Regenerator. You can't wear it down with hazards. Mamoswine's Ice Shard does not kill unless it has taken, like, I believe, 2 rounds of Stealth Rock damage. And Breloom can't touch it, Terrakion can't touch it. Terrakion's slower than it naturally, unless it's Scarfed, of course. I mean, it just has so many advantages that, you know, maybe it should have been banned, but in my opinion, I don't want it to be banned. Even though that it probably deserves a ban, I really don't want it to be banned because I loved using it so much. I had so much fun using Tornadus-T on my teams. It was such a huge threat. It cleaned up so many teams. It was great. However, in my opinion, and this is what this video really, what I really wanted to get from this video, is Tornadus is still extremely powerful. Tornadus can still do Tornadus-T's job, and it can even do it better sometimes because it has a 14 base power higher, a 14 higher base special attack. Don't know why I can't speak today, but that's okay. So Tornadus-T is actually weaker than Tornadus, and Tornadus can come in and do the same exact thing that Tornadus-T could. The only issue that it has is it's slower, but that's not really relevant in this metagame because not many things are over the 111 threshold. And two, and also with that 111 threshold, you even outspeed the Latios twins, which is great because they're one of the fastest threats in this metagame, and especially when you have a choice specs Latios. I mean, there are very, very few things that want to outspeed that. And this team actually has a big issue with choice specs Latios because the only thing I have to take Dracos is Ferrothorn, and Ferrothorn gets destroyed by Hidden Power Fire. Even in the rain, he cannot take a bunch of Hidden Power Fires, and obviously, because that's the only thing I have to switch in, it's pretty obvious that I'm going to switch it in. Anyway, Tornadus-T does outspeed that, so it can be, used to sort of buffer that situation. Anyway, I'm going to try to wrap up this video here because, once again, it's already 21 minutes long, and I feel like I could keep talking for like another 20 minutes, so I'm just going to try to wrap things up here. Anyways, if you use Tornadus-T before the ban, try Tornadus, because I'm telling you, you will not be regretting it. I don't know, you will not regret it. There you go. You'll not regret using it. It's good Pokemon. You can basically slap it on any rain team, and it will be useful to you. I personally like to use it with Mamoswine because Mamoswine actually covers Tornadus' weaknesses perfectly. Tornadus is obviously weak to rock, electric, and ice. Mamoswine is neutral to rock. Mamoswine is resistant to both ice and immune to electric. So, Mamoswine works well with Tornadus in my opinion. Wow, I really got to stop rambling. I'm just going to shut up now. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Leave your comments about the Tornadus-T ban if you've actually watched up to this point. If you have an opinion on it, leave a comment. If not, whatever, do your thing. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you next time.